All right, so get this. Today we're going deep into some pretty intense biblical territory.
Intense how so?
We're tackling Leviticus.
Leviticus, okay.
Specifically chapter 10.
All right. I'm intrigued.
No, I know what you're thinking.
Lots of laws and rules.
Right, all the rituals and stuff.
Yeah.
But trust me, this chapter is less about, the rules and more about this, powerful story.
Okay.
It's got, priestly mishaps,
Oh.
sudden death, and even, a debate about atonement.
Wow. Okay, so, right off the bat, we're dealing with some serious consequences for messing up.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
So this chapter is kind of showing us that tension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between, strict obedience to religious law, but also the need for compassion when things go wrong.
I am so ready for this.
Yeah.
So paint the picture for us. What's happening in Leviticus 10?
All right, so we're in the tabernacle.
The heart of Israelite worship.
Exactly. Aaron the high priest and his sons are doing their priestly duties, offering sacrifices and stuff.
Okay.
But things go south really fast.
Oh, what happens?
Aaron's sons, Nadab and Abihu, they offer incense to God, but they use the wrong kind of fire.
The wrong kind of fire? What do you mean?
It's called strange fire in the text.
Okay.
And it's like a huge no-no. It wasn't what God commanded.
So it's not just any old fire will do.
Nope. It's got to be the specific fire that God instructed.
Wow. And what happens to these guys? I mean, they use the wrong fire, so...
Well, the consequences are immediate and severe.
Oh, no.
Fire comes from the presence of the Lord.
Whoa.
And consumes Nadab and Abihu right there in the tabernacle.
Talk about a dramatic exit.
No kidding. It's a powerful image, isn't it?
Yeah. It really drives home the power and holiness of God. You don't mess around with that.
Definitely not.
So what happens next? Do they just kind of sweep up the ashes and move on?
Not exactly.
Okay.
Moses, the guy who talks to God on the mountain.
Yeah.
He steps in and he has to explain to Aaron what just happened.
I bet Aaron was devastated.
Oh, absolutely. He just lost 2 of his sons.
Right.
So Moses has to be the voice of reason here.
Yeah.
And explain that, God's holiness demands reverence and precise obedience.
Especially from the priests, right?
Exactly. From those who are chosen to serve him.
So it's not just blindly following rules, it's about understanding the deep meaning behind them.
Yes. It's about recognizing the sanctity of their role and respecting God's holiness.
Nadab and Abihu, they really messed up.
Yeah, their actions weren't just a minor slip-up. It was a major breach of trust.
And how does everyone else react to this? I mean, it must have been pretty traumatic to witness.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But they're actually really specific instructions about how to handle the bodies.
Oh, really? Like a what to do in case of fire from God kind of thing.
Basically, their cousins have to carry them out of the camp still in their priestly clothes.
And Aaron and his other sons, they can't mourn in the usual way.
No tearing their clothes, no letting their hair down, none of the traditional signs of grief.
That seems kind of harsh. I mean, they just lost family.
It does seem that way, right?
Yeah.
But it's all about maintaining ritual purity and avoiding, further divine wrath.
So even in grief, they have to, stay focused on their duties?
Right. They can't let their personal emotions interfere with the sanctity of the tabernacle.
It's like this constant tension between human emotion and divine law.
Exactly. And that tension, it doesn't stop there.
There's more.
God lays down some new rules specifically for Aaron and his remaining sons.
Okay, I'm all ears. What kind of new rules?
The first one is no drinking wine or strong drink while serving in the tabernacle.
Oh, wow. So no happy hour for the priests?
Nope. It's all business when you're in the presence of the holiest.
But why that specific rule? Is it just about avoiding, public intoxication?
Well, that's part of it for sure.
Okay.
But some scholars think it might be connected to Nadab and Abihu.
You mean maybe they were drunk when they offered the wrong fire?
We don't know for sure.
Right.
The text doesn't say it outright.
But the timing is interesting.
Yeah, exactly. It raises the question, doesn't it?
Definitely makes you wonder.
This rule about no drinking it emphasizes the importance of being clear-headed and sober when you're dealing with the divine.
So it's not just about avoiding drunkenness. It's about being in the right state of mind.
Yes. It's about maintaining a clear distinction between the sacred and the profane.
You can't just stumble into the presence of the holy.
Precisely. You need to be intentional and reverent.
And this wasn't just a temporary rule, right?
Nope. It's a perpetual statute.
Meaning?
It was meant to be passed down through generations of priests.
So this principle, it's super important.
Absolutely. It's a cornerstone of priestly conduct.
Okay. So we've got this tragic incident, new stricter rules about priestly behavior. God's really laying down the law.
Yeah, it feels like things are getting pretty serious.
And guess what?
And,
It gets even more complicated.
oh no. How?
There's a dispute over the sin offering. Can you remind me what a sin offering is again?
Sure. So sin offerings, they were a key part of the whole sacrificial system.
Okay.
They were meant to atone for like unintentional sins of the community.
Right. Okay, so how does this offering become a problem?
So a crucial part of this ritual was the priests eating a portion of the sin offering.
Okay.
And this wasn't just a meal.
Yeah.
It was a symbolic act.
Oh.
They were taking on the burden of the people's sins and making things right with God.
So by eating the offering, they were essentially like absorbing the bad stuff.
Exactly. It was a powerful symbol of atonement.
Okay. So what happened? Did someone forget to eat their portion?
Worse.
It could be worse.
Moses discovers that the offering was burned.
A whole thing.
Yeah, instead of being eaten as commanded.
Uh-oh. And how does Moses react to that?
He is not happy.
I bet.
He's furious with Eleazar and Ithamar, Aaron's reigning sons.
He must have given them a real earful.
Oh, you can bet on that?
Yeah.
He sees this as a serious offense. Like, why didn't you eat the offering? This was your duty.
So this whole thing about the precise ritual, it's really important.
It's not just about the actions. It's about the meaning behind them, the intentionality.
Right.
But then Aaron steps in.
Oh, really? So he
Yeah.
defends his sons?
He doesn't deny that they messed up,
Okay.
but he points out that it's been kind of a rough day.
Yeah, I mean, losing 2 sons in a fire from heaven, that's gotta be traumatic.
Right. So he basically asks, would it have been appropriate to eat the sin offering after all that?
So he's appealing to God's understanding.
Exactly. He's saying that sometimes strict adherence to the rules isn't the priority.
Especially in extreme circumstances.
Right. It's like he's wrestling with the spirit of the law versus the letter of the law.
That's a fascinating point. And what does Moses say to that?
You're not going to believe this.
What?
He accepts Aaron's explanation.
Really? No argument,
Mm.
no insisting that the rules are the rules no matter what.
Nope. It seems like he understands where Aaron's coming from.
Wow. This whole exchange between them, it raises so many questions about, like, divine law, human suffering, and God's mercy.
It really does. It gets to the heart of what it means to live out your faith in the midst of real-life challenges.
So where do we go from here?
Well, Leviticus 10 has even more for us.
Oh, there's more.
We haven't even touched on all the instructions about the different types of offerings.
Oh, man, we're going even deeper.
We're just getting started. Hold on tight. Because after a quick...
We're diving straight in, no breaks for the curious.
All right. You got it. Let's keep going.
So what other offerings are we talking about here? Give me the details.
Okay, so there are grain offerings, peace offerings, burnt offerings. Each one has its own set of guidelines and symbolism.
Okay, I'm ready to get granular. What makes each of these offerings unique?
All right, let's start with the grain offering. It's made from fine flour mixed with oil,
Okay.
but it has to be unleavened.
Unleavened, like no yeast.
Exactly. No yeast allowed. It
Wow.
signifies the offering's holiness.
So even something as simple as yeast has a deeper spiritual meaning.
Exactly. Every detail is important.
Wow.
Now, for the peace offerings,
Okay.
those were brought by individuals.
Like a personal offering.
Right, to express gratitude or to seek reconciliation with God.
Interesting. And what's special about those?
The peace offering allowed for a shared meal. Yeah. Between the worshiper, the priests, and God.
Whoa. Like a divine dinner party?
Kind of. It symbolizes the fellowship between God and the Israelites.
It's like this ancient ritualized potluck.
I like the way you think.
But seriously, with all these rules and regulations, what's the point?
You're hitting on a really important point here. All these details, they're not just arbitrary. They're
Yeah.
part of a system that reinforces the separation between the sacred and the profane, the pure and the impure.
So every detail has a purpose.
Exactly. It's all about maintaining that boundary between the holy and the everyday.
I'm starting to see the bigger picture here, but what does it all mean for us today, thousands of years later?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah. Like, why should we care about these ancient offerings?
Well, Leviticus 10, it's not just a dry list of rules. It's inviting us to think about the role of ritual in our lives.
Okay, I'm listening.
So think about it this way. Rituals, when performed with understanding and intention,
Uh-huh.
they can help us connect with something larger than ourselves.
You mean like a spiritual connection?
Exactly. Rituals can provide structure to how we interact with the divine, or even just with our own sense of spirituality.
Okay, that makes sense. But I can also see how rituals could become empty if you're not careful.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
If we just go through the motions without understanding the meaning, they lose their power.
It's like saying a prayer without really thinking about the words.
Exactly. You probably have rituals in your own life, right?
I mean, I guess so.
Maybe it's your morning routine or how you celebrate certain holidays.
Yeah, I guess those are kinds of rituals.
It's about the things we do that connect us to something beyond ourselves.
I never thought about it that way.
The way we gather for meals, the traditions we pass down through generations.
They all have deeper meaning.
Exactly. They shape our experiences and connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
It's like we're all carrying on the legacy of Leviticus 10 in our own way.
You got it. So as you think about this chapter from Leviticus, consider your own relationship with ritual. What role do rituals play in your life? Do they help you connect with something meaningful, or have they become empty gestures?
That's a good question to think about, and it really speaks to the power of these ancient texts.
They might be old, but they still have a lot to teach us.
Even though the specific rituals might be different, the underlying principles, they're still relevant.
Exactly. The desire to connect with something larger than ourselves that's universal.
And rituals can help us do that.
Whether it's an ancient sacrifice or a modern-day tradition.
It's all about finding that connection.
And that's what Leviticus 10 is all about.
It's a deep dive into the human experience of faith.
With all its complexities and contradictions.
And it's reminding us that engaging with the sacred requires both attention to detail and a deep understanding of why we do what we do.
Exactly. We have to be mindful and intentional in our actions.
This chapter, it really challenges us to think about the purpose and power of ritual in our lives.
And to find the sacred in the everyday.
Well said. This has been a really thought-provoking conversation.
It's just the beginning. There's still more to unpack in this chapter.
Oh, there's more.
We haven't even touched on Aaron's character development or the human side of faith.
Okay, I'm ready for part 2.
We'll delve into all of that and more as we continue our deep dive into Leviticus 10.
Okay, so we've seen what happens when you stray from God's commands, and we've talked about the sin offering and all those different types of offerings and their meaning. But I'm really curious about Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, yeah.
This whole chapter really puts him through it. I mean, how do you see his character developing through all this?
That's a good point. He really goes through the ringer, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, first he loses 2 sons in a horrifying way. Then he has to deal with Moses being upset with his other sons. And through it all, he somehow stays composed. He even defends his sons.
I know, right? He's like the ultimate grieving dad trying to hold it all together.
He really shows his strength of character to be leading and making decisions under that kind of pressure.
It's impressive. And his response to Moses about the sin offering, that really stood out to me.
Yeah, it would have been easy to just shut down after everything that happened.
Totally.
But he doesn't. He comes back with this thoughtful and complex argument. It's like he's engaging in this deep theological debate while he's mourning.
I know, it's incredible. It really reveals a lot about him, I think.
It does.
Like, he's not just blindly following rules. He's really thinking about the situation and appealing to God's mercy.
He's wrestling with some big questions about faith and how to apply it when things are falling apart.
Right. Like, is he questioning the law or just trying to reconcile his grief with his duty? I wonder how this experience changed him.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And honestly, I don't think there's an easy answer.
Yeah.
The text is open to interpretation,
Yeah.
which is what makes it so fascinating.
Yeah.
It lets us think about Aaron's internal struggle and how it might have shaped his leadership going forward.
And then there's Moses accepting Aaron's explanation. That really surprised me.
Yeah, me too. It shows a lot of respect between them.
Definitely, like, they both understand that sometimes there's no easy answer.
Exactly. It's like they're acknowledging that compassion and human understanding have a place even within divine law.
Which is a pretty radical idea when you think about it.
It is. It challenges us to think about how we balance our own commitment to rules and principles with empathy and flexibility in real-life situations.
It's something we all struggle with, right?
All the time, how to stay true to our values while also being understanding and compassionate.
Leviticus 10. It's giving us a lot to think about.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's not just some ancient story. It's a reflection on what it means to be human, trying to make sense of life and faith and all the messiness that comes with it.
We talked about the drama and the tension in this chapter, but for me, the most powerful part is the way it shows the human side of faith.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that these religious figures were real people with real emotions.
Right. They weren't just robots following commands. They were wrestling with doubt and grief and uncertainty, just like us.
We see it with Nadab and Abihu, their mistake. It shows that we're all human, even when we're dealing with the sacred.
And Aaron trying to hold it together while grieving his sons. It's a reminder that faith doesn't make you immune to pain.
And then Moses accepting Aaron's explanation. It shows that even within a system of divine law, There's room for compassion.
Like sometimes the rules need to bend a little to accommodate the complexities of human experience.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important lesson for us today.
Definitely. This chapter, it's like a window into the ancient world, showing us how people struggled with faith and ritual and their relationship with God.
And while we might not offer animal sacrifices anymore, those deeper themes, they still resonate with us.
The need for reverence, the desire to connect with something bigger than ourselves that's universal.
It's the human condition searching for meaning and purpose.
And rituals, they can be a powerful tool in that search.
Whether it's an ancient sacrifice or a modern-day tradition.
It's about finding those things that help us connect with the sacred.
So as we're wrapping up our look at Leviticus 10, I want to leave you with this thought.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Think about the rituals in your own life. The ones that bring you comfort or a sense of purpose. Yeah. What if you approach them with a new awareness of their deeper meaning?
Like really being present and intentional with what we're doing.
Exactly. How might that change your experience and your understanding of their significance?
That's a really great point. It's so easy to just go through the motions without really thinking about why we're doing something.
Right. We can get so caught up in the routine of it all and lose sight of the meaning behind it.
Exactly. But if we take a step back and really understand the deeper significance of our actions, it can totally change our experience.
It transforms those everyday habits into something sacred.
I love that. Finding the sacred in the everyday. It's a beautiful idea.
It is.
Yeah.
And it's something that Leviticus 10 really highlights.
Yeah, this whole chapter, it's not just about ancient rules and sacrifices. It's like this mirror reflecting the human experience of faith.
I agree. It's raw and honest. It shows the struggles and the doubts, the messiness of it all.
Like with Nadab and Abihu, their mistake. It's a reminder that we're all human. We all make mistakes, even when we're trying to connect with the divine.
Right. And it's not like their intentions were bad. They were trying to honor God.
Exactly. But they got it wrong. And the consequences were severe.
It really emphasizes the importance of understanding the why behind our actions.
And then there's Aaron grieving the loss of his sons, yet still trying to lead and make sense of this tragedy.
His defense of his remaining sons, it's so powerful. It shows that even the most devout people grapple with doubt and uncertainty.
It humanizes him. It makes him relatable, even though he's this high priest.
And Moses accepting his explanation, that's a key moment too.
I know. It shows that there's space for compassion and understanding, even within a system of divine law.
Sometimes the rules need to bend a little in the face of human suffering.
It's a beautiful reminder that faith isn't about blind obedience. It's about grappling with complex questions and trying to do what's right, even when it's hard.
This whole chapter is like a crash course in the human side of faith. The struggles, the doubts, the moments of grace.
And while we might not relate to the specifics of animal sacrifices, the themes of reverence and obedience and seeking atonement, those are universal.
Absolutely. We all want to connect with something larger than ourselves. We all want to make things right when we mess up.
Leviticus 10. It's not giving us all the answers, but it's pushing us to think about the big questions.
It challenges us to find the sacred in our own lives, to approach our rituals with intention and awareness.
To be mindful of the why behind what we do.
Exactly. And to remember that compassion and understanding are essential parts of any faith journey.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I'm so grateful for your insights.
It's been a pleasure. Always a joy to explore these ancient texts with you.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. We hope this has sparked your curiosity and left you with some food for thought.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.
Until next time.